talking all about mental health and gaming and how those two things go together. So today we're joined by four lovely people. We have Orbital, we have Suki, we have, actually, I don't know what order it's up in right now, but we also have Snoop SD1 and Zay. So, if you don't mind, if you'd like to just quickly give yourselves a little bit of an introduction, who you are, what you do, um, go right ahead. We can start with Snoop.
Got it. All right. So I'm Snoop. I first and foremost, I usually like talking about how I'm a high school counselor, bilingual high school counselor on like the west side of Chicago. So I work with like students who are also kind of like at an age where a lot of them game. Like there's students who tell me like I play 2K and I'm like on the leaderboards and I'm like, okay, well, we gotta start getting you like I don't know, we gotta help you out, get you the resources you need to really lock in. And so for Lotus 8, I'm their mental performance coach. So I do a lot of things mental health related. There are other people in the org who also do that, but I kind of focus more on doing like workshops, such as workshops on self-resilience, self-confidence, focus in stress management, things of that nature. And then I'm also their EAFC pro player, so that's also very fun. So I also, while trying to help other people lock in, I also myself have to lock in and represent the org as best as I can. And so yeah, just kind of a bit about me. I feel like is necessary to know is that um, bilingual in like everything I do. So I always try to include my culture in it as like a first generation Mexican American. Um, so yeah, I just kind of that's kind of the intro that came to mind. It's all jumbled, but that's what we're gonna roll with.
All right. Whoever would like to go next.
Uh, yeah. My name is Orbital, Daniel Orbitally. I am a freelance broadcaster. I've been in esports for, I want to say, approximately about 10 years now. I started back in 2015, was trying to run my own team. That quickly fell through for one way or another. And I picked up casting. I've been casting ever since. Casted over 30 different titles, been to lands, been to, online broadcasts, worked around the world, which is really cool. Um, yeah, so met a lot of people, met a lot of cool people, been through the ups and downs in the esports world for sure.
Lovely. Who would like to go next?
Um, I I can go next. Um, Hi, I'm Suki. Well, some people call me Lambie, some people call me Suki. Um, I was previously Humber Esports' health and wellness coach, and I've been doing that for I guess 2 competitive seasons. And I also like went to school. I just graduated. Like I just finished my program over at Guelph Humber with kinesiology. And that's kind of like my background, and that's where I implemented health and wellness into Humber Esports. I was like looking for like a co-op placement, and yeah, I'm also the president of.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
oh no.
I guess we'll
No,
never know.
what is
No,
she
we will know
president
soon.
of?
I think she'll definitely be back, but uh, who has? Oh, I was gonna say Zay, if you would like to pick up the torch here. In the
Yeah,
meantime,
sure. Um, Hi, I'm Zay. I'm a tier two Overwatch coach, and I was primarily brought into the collegiate scene about 2 years ago with St. Clair College, and I specialize specifically in player development, and something that goes hand in hand in player development is mental health, and that's something I've really tried to work with all of my players, whether it's been through the college space or whether it's been through just like the scene itself.
all right, lovely. Oh, I think Suki has returned, possibly, maybe. Well, while we kind of just settle in here, I'm just going to ask you a nice question to get you back into the. Oh, welcome back. I think you're good.
No.
That's exactly what I look like when I wake up in the morning. Just like, the light, it hurts.
Hi, Suki. Welcome back.
Hello. Uh-oh. Can she not hear us?
Can you hear us, Suki?
Dang.
Oh no. Oh no.
It's okay. It's okay. We will. We are figuring that out. While we do that, I'm just gonna ask kind of just a general kind of icebreaker question. We are in the esports gaming industry, so what is currently your favorite game to unwind with?
Ooh, okay. Oh, am I allowed to take this, or Snoop or Zay? Either of you want to take it instead?
Up
You
for
go for it.
everybody.
Go
Oh
for it,
no,
brother.
because I will say this, and I will say this just as a heads up. If you are in esports at all, please have like a single player game that you have on the side. That is number one. I'm leading into this as we get to see double Snoop, double Snoop. Woohoo, woohoo. All right. My current go-to game that I've been playing is Power World, but my favorite game to kind of unwind with at the current moment has been Claire Obscure. Claire Obscure has been my hard to go to just kind of complete. I've only done about 8 hours or so, but like honestly, it's been basically any single player title. Like before Claire Obscure, it's been like all the Like a Dragon series. So that's been like my favorite game. The problem is again it's a genre instead of a game, right? At the end of the day, so that's what I'm looking at is like Claire Obscure, Like a Dragon, and all that stuff.
um, Currently my unwind game is Spider-Man 2. I've been playing those Spider-Man games since I was a little kid, since like I remember going to Blockbuster to get like Spider-Man 2 for the PS2. Like it
Yeah.
was super fun. So then now I play. It's so funny though because it's supposed to be unwind, yet I play on a difficulty, like the hardest difficulty, no assisted settings, like just everything making it harder. Yet it's still fun because I've been playing it since I was a little kid. So like it helps me unwind that way. Like the competitive nature is still there, but it's like not that much pressure because I'm just playing a single player game, like you mentioned. Because that is such solid advice. Because before I was playing esports and stuff, I would not have a single player game. I'd just be stressing every single night. It's not worth it.
Oh yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Other than that, something that I find really helpful too is playing games that like I used to play as a kid. So like I'm playing through A Link to the Past right now, actually.
Oh. I just have to say you two are still in the competitor mindset because for me, like if there's no achievement tied to difficulty, I'm going like normal all the way through. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't have to worry about that, right? Yes. Kitty. Mm. I can go ahead and answer this one. Because I'll start it out, of course, mainly because I feel like when I first started in esports itself, it was it's still very club focused, right? A lot of what was going down was still very, I wouldn't say as well structured and well coordinated. So it was very much a free form. So for me, it was more just one of the more um, basic or primal kind of situations, which was specifically I was just able to connect with so many people. It was really like where I live currently, there's not like a really big esports scene. It's very just like podunk. There's very little to do with electronics and with gaming overall, and it's very hard to find a niche within the group. So the fact that I was able to be online, and it just helped me connect and make me feel not so, I guess, like lonely. You meet a lot of like-minded people, but also a lot that also challenge you to be better. So within the space that you are given within my own interests, I found people that want to push me further. So instead of being seen as like as just kind of that unique factor, that outlier in my own area, it's allowed me to kind of find my own space and make me feel a little bit more in tune with those that are in the like-minded space.
Yeah, I can kind of go on here. So initially, kind of growing up, my older brother was the one that really introduced me to video games. Um, and so I kind of just copied whatever he was playing. He was playing on like a PS1. He had a Game Boy, all this type of stuff. And also it was a good time for me to use gaming as a way to like de-stress in times because like didn't really grow up with that much money, kind of below the poverty line. So sometimes just playing video games was always nice dopamine. And then family issues, all that kind of was a way, not, I don't want to call it an escape, but I'd rather call it kind of a way to kind of just ground yourself for a moment because especially in those high stress situations, you tend to like overthink a lot and your mental health kind of can get scattered. And so then sometimes when you just play your favorite game on like the Game Boy Advance or something, it'll help you out. And so additionally though, once I started getting to the esports scene, that was more when I started watching Call of Duty around like 2013, 2012, like Optic Gaming, all of that stuff. Um, and that honestly helped me just become more of a disciplined type of gamer and more into esports. Like, okay, I need to practice, I need to do that. And then I was able to apply that just overall in my life, kind of like a little blueprint on how I should improve. So, and that includes mental health, right? Includes making sure my head's not somewhere else. And so being able to integrate those things from, or not integrate, being able to sort of apply that from gaming to your entire life has been like a blessing, to be honest. Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's funny you mentioned that because I actually started an esports lounge this past week. Like we got
Hey,
funding
nice.
to get like the students were so excited. They're like, "Is that two PS5s?" I'm like, "Yep, that is two monitors." Like, "Yep, that's two monitors." Yep, they were super hype. Like we had a decent amount of students there. Even the students that like maybe initially they didn't like me as much or they were very like I like to call them my favorite crash out students. Because it feels like as the school counselor, I'm like their best friend.
Mhm.
I'm like, and I think that's great. Like that's how it should be, right? Or they're like, I've had students who tell me like, "Oh, I'm not gonna get disrespectful because you're in here," and I'm like, "I'm glad. That's amazing." Um, exactly. So I feel like having an esports lounge also helps out. Like I said, west side of Chicago. So sometimes people are out here in the streets doing things they're not supposed to be doing. So having something like an esports lounge after school is kind of like it'll also help the mental overall, just because then they won't get involved in stuff that'll ruin their mental. Yeah.
Sure. Can you reiterate the question? Sorry, it's just I was listening. I was listening so attentively that I kind of forgot.
We appreciate that so much.
I think I really think it's kind of like a two-way street, right? So I think like growing up, especially with trying to like, I think nowadays like when people, especially kids, like try to figure out like what they're meant to do or what they want to do, you put yourself through a lot of like adverse risk, like being rejected or like just like not feeling like good enough about yourself. And I think one thing that games really, really allow you to do is that it gives you this like I want to say like this medium or this platform for you to see your impact under a specific lens. And I think for me, growing up and being able to like see that and like like attempt to like benefit from like getting better with like certain skills or applying myself or like visually feeling proud about myself about doing something that I actually enjoy instead of it like being through the lens of oh you know going to soccer or going to like doing my homework. It was actually something that like I genuinely to like the bottom of my heart enjoyed. I think that's like invaluable as a kid, because it's not like your parents are telling you, oh, this is good for you. It's like you actually see it for yourself. You actually have like your passion aligned with something. And I think that's why like a lot of people end up going into esports because like that little spark in them kind of like keeps going. Um, on the opposite side of that, though, I do think that especially nowadays, people do define a little bit too much of like their own identity within what they do and what they try to accomplish. I know for me specifically, like um, being an esports coach and being in esports in general, like
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Yeah, go ahead, Snoops. You guys got this. I'm sitting here with my own personally. Oh, hey!
Can you repeat the question again, just so I can organize?
Yeah. So, what are some troubling gaming habits that you have encountered?
I've definitely encountered like honestly, I could bring up an example of my older brother. This is a very specific example. Modern Warfare 3.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's grinding for Moabs. And this dude, he has ADHD like me as well, some autism as well. So he's grinding. He's getting these Moabs. But he would tend to like, the old rage of like you hit something, but he was hitting like his thigh. But that shit
Oh.
would be bruised at some point. We were just like, all
no.
right, like you gotta chill the fuck out. Like like
Oh.
I'm sorry. But yeah. Like he would hit his thigh and I was just like, I don't think that's healthy. I was a little kid, but I was just kind of like, I don't think that's something that you should be doing, at least in that way. Before I was kind of like, oh, rage, that's not good. But now I'm like, no, rage,
No.
fine, express it differently where you're not hurting yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, just that's a very specific example. MW3 grinding for Moabs.
Great, Ross, yeah. I'd like to just what is it? Reemphasize our language to make
Yes.
sure we keep it sponsor friendly. But Daniel, you want to speak on your own maybe bad poor habits?
Maybe if Suki's here, I wonder if Suki has any insight as well as Suki and Zay. I'm sure.
Suki.
Suki, are you there?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Oh my gosh, guys,
Hell,
I've been
hey.
revived. Jet has revived me.
Yes. Did you hear the question, Suki?
Yeah, like any like not like coping mechanisms, practices,
I guess the best way.
bad
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
that you've seen recently.
As of recently, one of our players, he said he was going to quit something, and I was like helping him get into that mindset of quitting said activity. I'm not going to go into detail, but and then he relapsed, which is kind of what I unfortunately did expect, but I was like really hoping that he would quit his bad habit, and he was working on it. But like part of like the journey, I feel like people need to remember is that um it's not, growth isn't always linear. Sometimes you hit a plateau, right? Or you like kind of like hit like a rough patch, and like it's hard to go through it, but like I always tell my players that you will get through it. Like you're not alone. You have your teammates. You also have me, right? Because part of the job for me over at Humber Esports was being that person that they can vent to. And I think it's a really important like skill to like be a good listener, not just like for like your friends and family, but like also like for in esports as well, which I didn't really think too much about because I was also like helping them with their nutrition and like their fitness as well. And but they also like were going through a lot of stress in terms of not just school, but like also like gaming as well. Like they were so stressed about playoffs, right? And their stress started eating away at like, like again, like while I was going over their fitness and their nutrition and their sleep hygiene. Some of them don't sleep because some of them did have a habit of relating their self-worth with their rank, and it's really hard to get them out of that mindset of, okay, you guys are on this team for a reason. It's not just because you're good at the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we see, especially in gaming, especially when there isn't, as many external validators or, especially with self-esteem, like we're coming into an age, the digital social media age where it's so easy to compare yourself to everybody. But when you don't have those support systems, when you don't have that kind of built up self-esteem, if you're really good at one thing, then you're going to kind of identify with how good you are with it. And I think we have seen a lot of, especially in collegiate esports or in the competitive field, where even pro players, if they have one bad game, it's there's a crash out. And it's hopefully something that over the next kind of couple of years, not only schools but like our general kind of ecosystem helps kind of support gamers, not just in game but outside as well.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say like a lot of our players like really like they would book me in for a session and they'll just be yapping to me for hours, but like as in they're telling me about their stressors and like absolutely everything. So yeah, it's just like being that person for them was like kind of like really rewarding, but it's kind of painful to see like their bad habits like eat away at them, like I said. But yeah, you do make a good point.
So in terms of this, I think this question kind of helps branch off into that. But have you noticed, like, what have been like the changes that you've noticed in like how people and especially students consume games since COVID-19? Because I feel like that was a pretty big shift.
Yeah.
Snoop, I saw you kind of go in there for
Yeah,
something.
because I was thinking like Because for me, there's like a specific case at the school where I've like, I don't know, I just never seen this happen. Like I feel like this could be something that's researched for like schizophrenia or like bipolar and gaming, because there's a student who plays a video game, or like sometimes he might come in, his mental might be a little off, where he's also grieving like a best friend they had like in his old school. And the thing is that sometimes he sees his friend like within whichever video game he's playing, like in some shape, way, or form. And so sometimes it gets to the point where he even tries to take on like the characters in the game, since like his friend is also in the game, like from his perspective. So yeah, just kind of like that. Just that question just made me think of that specific case.
Yeah, that's
I don't really have a specific answer yet, but I just wanted to. You caught that really fast.
yeah. Do you
But
have
yeah.
Yeah, go on, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things that we could talk about, right? When it comes to how COVID impacted a lot of it, but I think one of the things that I saw personally was the accelerated pace at which gaming became even more mainstream. Around 2019, 2020, gaming itself was already seen as getting to the mainstream factor. I mean, a lot of us kids were growing up, it was becoming a little bit more regular, especially with mobile phones, the rise of mobile gaming as well, and, the small actions, like it's already been there. But as soon as you made people, had to stay indoors for a long period of time, they obviously turned to primarily the only one way to kind of socially be in there, which was gaming. At the time, they just didn't know it. We saw a huge influx of what, some would say, maybe newbie gamers into the scene enter into the gaming sphere at almost a breakneck pace, and it was such a jarring experience. We saw a lot of collisions with mainstream media versus esports and just regular gaming itself, and a lot of us who had been, seen in the shadows a lot of the time, like, you call us basement dwellers or anything like that, like there were terms that stuck that felt kind of rude to a lot of us, and all of a sudden we're thrust into a world where all these people are also joining into a lot of our spaces. It was such a weird dynamic at the time, and to maybe even learn that some of the people that we knew that maybe weren't always about gaming were getting in, like, hey, what's this game about? What's League of Legends? What's Valorant? What's Counter-Strike? There were so many, and it was to I guess it was a little bit off track, but it was just this. I think COVID actually accelerated the pace at which gaming became a lot more mainstream. It became almost a household subject. I mean, it accelerated, I think, like even elementary school esports and gaming in itself, or else we would have had to wait I would say maybe another couple of years before we saw the rise of like middle school esports
Yeah.
academics, like that would have taken ages, in my opinion. So it was this, the COVID had a lot of good and also, a lot of bad, obviously. But in terms of esports, it kind of forced us forward a few more years than I think maybe we were truly ready for.
Yeah. If it's okay for me to jump in.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, like during COVID, like in my personal experience, I guess like for me, like I didn't think that I would be able to combine like what I've been learning in school, because I just started like college university when COVID just first started. Like I was like having like the longest March break of my life, and then all of a sudden I hit uni.
No, literally.
But
Yeah.
during all of that, I was always playing like League of Legends. That was like my first like PC like
Oh yeah,
competitive game. Yeah, I got
go
some tough
League of
skin.
Legends friend. Woo!
Yeah, I got some tough skin because of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Am I still bad at that game? Absolutely.
Good catch.
Yeah.
Better than me.
And then like Valorant started coming around as well, and I got into that, and then yeah, I mean, I met so many people through streaming on Twitch, and then they like were in esports, and if I didn't meet this one specific friend, then I don't think like I would be where I am today. And like the only reason like that happened was because of like the COVID pandemic. Like else I wouldn't be super into like esports and I'll just be playing games like more casually,
Yeah.
and instead of looking at it from like the competitive side. But yeah, but it did mess up my sleep schedule. I will say that for real. Like
I don't think sleep schedules existed in COVID. Like it was just
Yeah,
constant.
like
like you
circadian
are waking your
rhythm,
clothes.
not rhythming,
Not rhythming.
not rhythm. It's like a freestyle at this point.
Yeah, but I think we can all agree that kind of the pandemic really, like, it was like the industrial revolution, but esports. Like it was just like it's just a big boom of gaming. Like I actually personally like barely touched a video game until 2022. So it was or like 2021. So I was one of those newbies that came into the scene that was like, whoa, what's League of Legends? What's Valorant? What's CS? What's Overwatch? All this fun stuff. And I'm still learning every day, but I think, as I think I was like 15 or 16 when the pandemic hit, I saw a lot of different ways that it was affecting the people around me. Some people you just wouldn't hear from for months because they were, wrapped up in their game. But some people used kind of found community through gaming in the pandemic and found a way to make themselves more social.
Yeah.
So in terms of, especially kids, especially we've been talking a lot about like kind of high school, middle school as well. Is there any advice you would give to parents that have kids currently, either looking to get into esports, looking to just maybe that have already been involved in gaming, or parents that maybe have been really restrictive with video games? They haven't let their kid, play any games, no Switch, no nothing, maybe the Wii, but maybe parents that are a little bit hesitant about involving their kids in gaming because of maybe not the greatest reputation it's had in terms of like toxicity or like safety.
I could kind of start off with that one because I had a little bit of experience of my own with my parents being not too restrictive, only because my older brother was with me at the time. But there would be times where like my older brother wants to play Call of Duty with me, like on the weekend we're just grinding, trying to prestige, and my mom's like, "Hey, you're playing too much," and my brother's like, "It's Saturday, his grades are fine," and I'm just like, "Oh, thanks." Like,
Thanks.
but if it wasn't for him, like then maybe it would have been different. But I've seen other situations where parents are like very restrictive. Like I'm sure you guys have seen on Twitter all the crazy stuff where like people's setups are just absolutely like just destroyed. And then kind of like thinking about right now in the future, I'm going to probably have to talk to certain parents at the school for students that might be super interested in my esports lounge, and maybe their parents aren't on board with that type of stuff, where I have to explain kind of like, okay, like there is such a thing as healthy gaming and like unhealthy, right? There are habits, and it's like we're not gonna just have them like, you guys gonna play everything like just whatever, no like no limitation, just chaos. Like no, there's STEM skills that are developed through esports, and so explaining that type of stuff going to be helpful to them, because I'm like, these STEM skills can be applied to school, which is what they're doing now and in the future. So I feel like gaming, not only as a space, but like just the different dynamics it provides in terms of developing people's skills in general, can sometimes be overlooked. A lot of the times actually can be overlooked.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, Say, do you have anything that you'd like to say for this one? I know I don't have your visual cue, so I want to make sure that if you're looking to speak, you get the chance to.
Yeah. Again, can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Like, what advice would you give a parent that has, maybe a child that is looking, like maybe that's already gaming or looking to get into gaming, that, maybe a parent is a little bit hesitant about, letting their kid kind of step into that world?
Well, I definitely can't speak on it from the parents' perspective, but what I can say from the kids' perspective is I think obviously supervision is very important in understanding like the potential risk factors and kind of like what they're getting themselves into. But I think in involvement and trust, I feel like, are the more important elements of that. Like I think obviously when you're a teen, the last thing you want is to have like someone all up in your space, especially something that you're doing out of like fun or like passion or just hanging out with your friends, right? But I think just like being involved and them knowing what it's about, I think is like the most important thing, because we also have to understand that like we're in a different day and age where like when my parents used to like hang out with their friends, like they're down the street, like their parents pull up, they get to literally see who they're talking to, what they're doing, they get to see where they're going, what neighborhood they're in, right? It's not the same, my mom walks into my room and I'm 12 years old, I'm playing Black Ops 2 and I'm throwing grenades at people she doesn't know, so
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're currently living in a world where when you can be talking to someone across the world, and then like a couple years down the road, you're all of a sudden have the money, you're old enough or anything that you actually can go meet them.
Yeah, of course.
It's I think my parents, the first time I was like, hey, I'm gonna go travel to Edmonton to meet some people that I've been friends with for the last 3 years that I've never seen in person. They were kind of like, what? What do you mean you're traveling by yourself? You're going, this to meet people you've never met before. But that was like probably one of the great, like for my well-being, that was a much needed trip, and it was really rewarding. I think on the side of kind of like school, I think it's important that a lot of parents, as long as they can regulate, like obviously, like if your kid's like 19, then it's kind of weird to try and regulate certain things, but making sure that they're developing healthy habits when it comes to gaming. Not being on there for 10 hours straight when they have schoolwork to do, or if they are raging, that they're not hitting themselves or breaking things, or teaching them, hey, this is a way that you can express frustration that isn't harming anybody or yourself. Did anyone else have any other point that they'd like to? Yes, Suki.
Hi.
Hey, cutie.
So, growing up for me with my parents, because I'm like their only daughter, and they are also like immigrants. They came from Vietnam, and they migrated to Canada. Yeah, they didn't really think like girls could play video games too. It was mainly just like my older cousins and my uncles who were fairly young, and they were like playing video games, right? And they were like waving like the forbidden fruit in front of my face and whatnot.
Yeah.
And saying like, haha, you can't play, but I can. And then I'll just be watching them play. But like now, funny story, like all of a sudden I'm playing League of Legends and I'm playing all these other video games since like high school. Yeah, I feel like for me, like my parents didn't really get it as at first, but eventually like I showed them that I was incorporating what I'm doing in college and university into esports, right? It's like, hey, I'm using my degree and like putting into something I actually like. And like eventually like they understood. They were being a little bit more open-minded. I think at the end of the day they were just hoping that I would get a job. And like just be like successful at life, because like that's what like like all parents want for like their kids, right? They just want them to like be able to be on their own and be independent and like live like their best life. But yeah, like talking about parents, recently I did a little science fair that was open for like all ages, so including kids, over at Guelph Humber University. And I was displaying my thesis, like my research project. It was basically on moderate intensity exercise and how that affects FPS performance. And I used AIM Labs to kind of like measure performance. It was a little sciencey, a little cool. And some parents were like really impressed that I was able to take something that I like, so video games, and put it into my education. And then like they were like telling me that, oh, I thought video games were bad, but like you kind of like changed my view on it, especially if they're like incorporating it into school. And so like I was kind of glad that that day I changed some like parents' minds about like video games. But like the main thing I would stress the most is like just um educating your kids about, again, like stranger danger, and then like the screen time limits depending on like the age group. And yeah, that's pretty much my 2 cents on it.
All right, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna try and get at least 2 more questions in here because we are almost wrapped up with this panel. How time flies. I don't know if any of you feel like it's gone so quick.
Yes.
I mean, I was like dead for a little bit, but
But Jett revived you.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but Jett revived me.
I know that's right.
So in kind of like more like short, quick, almost like bullet points, what advice kind of would you give to gamers, or like what would you give gamers, almost like options to for meeting people within the gaming space? Like what would be some suggestions you would give them if you want to like just list out a couple?
Are you talking about just in any scenario, like in gaming in general? Or are you talking about in esports specifically, collegiate? Are there any limitations on that?
No limitations. So whether that be from like I guess elementary school till you're like 99, anything, just getting getting involved in that gaming space.
Number one, stick with what you love. A big thing, it's even within gaming, you still have to recognize that this is a community type. And a lot of the time you'll be sometimes you'll feel a pressure to kind of follow the trends a lot of the time, or to follow those that what I effectively, it's well known as being a bandwagoner. You kind of follow what's popular, you join in, and there's nothing wrong with that. Do not get me wrong, there's no problem with that. The main thing though is do it because you love it, and you will find like-minded people within that space. That's number one. If you enjoy puzzle games, stick with puzzle games. Do what you enjoy. Don't always feel like you have to jump from ship to ship just because you don't find your people or anything like that. Specifically when it comes to mental wellness, I found that enjoying the activity that I'm doing with a limited amount of people is, to me, much better than doing something I mildly dislike with a larger majority of people. So to ensure that my mental well-being and my comfort levels are all together, it's follow what you enjoy. Be open-minded, don't get me wrong, but always go back to, are you comfortable while playing these games or finding that area? Because at the end of the day, you got to enjoy the activity to find the people that are also like-minded.
Nice. Anyone else want to jump in on that one? If not, that's okay. We can also move on to another question.
I'll run another one. I got plenty of these. Like, I got a rapid fire. I want, no.
I think honestly, definitely find a routine. A routine that kind of like keeps your energy going, especially if you're integrating yourself into more esports space. You want to be able to have fun and participate in all that fun, but you can't do that if you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure to do that as well. So it's kind of like
first.
Exactly, like a kind of like, yeah, take care. It's like that oxygen mask analogy, where like you put it on first and then you help other people, that type of thing. But the same thing you said about like doing what you love, I really like that point, because I thought about that. I was like, man, people should really stick to what they do and they shouldn't bandwagon. And then you said all that and I was like, perfect. So we're all on the same page here with the same wavelength. But yeah, that's all I got for that one.
In the interest of time, I am gonna continue on to another question. I would like to hear kind of what, from our conversation today, each of you, what kind of was the most important takeaway you think we had over this conversation. So, think about, imagine, I don't know, when you started getting, I mean, by the sound of it, a lot of you got into gaming at a pretty young age. But, if you imagined yourself in middle school, high school, university, sitting here, listening to this panel, which kind of topic that we covered do you think people should really just grab with their hands and like tattoo on themselves mentally?
Oh,
I think. Oh,
sorry. It's just
no,
something
you
that
go.
something that my mom tells me every time before I go to tournaments is don't forget to have fun.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Yeah.
So that's a really big one that I think is like tattooable. I might do that actually.
Don't forget to have
Good one.
fun,
Yeah.
That's a
Mom.
good one.
Literally.
Yeah.
Suki?
Sorry.
Say
Yeah.
yeah. Say.
Oh.
Do you mind if I go first? Or
Yeah. Go ahead.
to me, it seems like a lot of like the core like theme or like concept we were kind of gravitating towards was like the idea of individual responsibility, right? So like to me, I feel like especially working with like I don't want to say college kids because it's not like I'm that much older than them. I'm like 2 years older than my players, but like working with people who are like fresh out of high school, like they have no idea what individual responsibility really is, you know? And I think like it really comes down to like understanding that you can't pour from an empty cup. And that comes into whether it's like your own individual like goals or it's just like your role within like your relationships or whatever the case may be. You really have to like take care of yourself first so you actually have something to offer, whether it's yourself or everyone else.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like everyone here like brought up some like good points, especially with like having fun. Like for me, growing up playing video games, like of course I'm not going to be like super good in comparison to like my cousins and whatnot. Like they got like a 5-year head start of me, if not more. So of course I'm going to suck. But yeah, I just remembered to like have fun, right? If I and I also like learned that like especially with like gaming community trash talk, it's inevitable. But I try to learn to like not take it like personally. Um and then for my like well-being, it's like also like good to take breaks. Like if I'm stressing over like let's say like Marvel Rivals, then maybe I should probably hop off and probably switch to like something like more chill, like Hello Kitty Island Adventure, the real grind. um yeah, and on top of that, with actually I lost my thought. We're moving on.
That's one of those moments. That's
It
100%
is.
one of those moments. I feel that.
Was
Yeah, I think one of the things that taking away from this, it's we talked a lot about personal responsibility and everything, and leaning into all these. But one of the things that I would say is to add on to that is understand what you can and cannot control. It really does come down to that, I think, because when we're online, I mean, there are some games where you're talking, you're playing with 9 other people, right? There's also MMOs. I mean, this extends to like if you've ever played WoW, you're raiding with 39 other people, or any of these other games. There's only so much you can control, and when it comes to personal responsibility, you can control what you control. You control how you get angry, what you get angry at, how you kind of release that anger and everything, and what you do with your emotions. At the same time, understanding that other people are going to do what other people do. There are points where some of us we try and kind of save everyone, if that makes sense. We want to try and help everyone, but there's only so much you can do, and understanding that it's not all on you. You cannot do everything, and sometimes things are out of your control. So you try and help what you can. You try and do with what you can, and that's the extent. And we just try and keep getting better with that aspect, with what we can handle and what we can do, what is within our own grasp.
Yeah, I agree with that because with like my experience with like the players for like the past like I guess 2 competitive seasons, So like that's like 2 different rosters, if not like and then plus more because we got some new teams. Yeah, it's just like some people like I can tell like they're struggling. Like I really hope that like they would reach out to me, and like unfortunately like they don't. And I can't really like force them to like, come and see me or book a session with me, right? So yeah, I'm doing what I can, just making sure like I let them know like that there's resources for them to use is like the most I can do when you know they're maybe a little too afraid to like reach out and whatnot, or they're really unsure.
Yeah. Well, I think that was everyone able to speak there? Zay, were you able to speak on that? I wasn't sure if I brought her up.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely. Well, I think that'll conclude our panel for today. I'd like to thank you all for not only volunteering your time, but being able to really lock in for this panel and talk about your personal experiences and your thoughts and opinions. I think it's a really valuable kind of piece of information, not only for anyone that's interested, but for all of us to be able to engage in a conversation. So yeah. So thank you again. If you want to quickly just run through, say your name again and where people can find you. And then we're gonna kind of to say thank you to our amazing sponsors, which is the reason why we're able to do all of this in the first place. So we can go with Suki first.
Oh, okay. So you can find me on Twitch at Suki2212. You can find me on Instagram at Suki.2212. And Twitter, Suki_2212. Yeah.
Nice.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah, you can find me on pretty much all social medias. I haven't really localized everything, but it's generally some version of orbital_casting, orbital_entertainment. I haven't gotten the underscore out of my name either, so that's there. Yeah, and you can find me all over the place, whether on socials or on the mic.
All right. Yeah, Snoop.
Yeah. So you could find me on most social media. It just says Snoop SD1. Should be the same across all platforms. I thought of that when I thought of the name Snoop SD1. I was like, I need to make sure that in the future, when I'm in this moment. But yeah, you can find me there. I'm usually posting just like clips of like EAFC and sometimes like mental health stuff. So yeah.
Nice. And Zay.
You can pretty much find me on Discord, Twitch, and Twitter, all at the same tag, Isaiah's Fallen.
It's fun. Nice. All right. And so I'd like to thank BMO, our main title sponsor. You can find BMO on Twitter at BMO_GRS. On Twitch, BMO_next level, which is NXTLVL. Cool gamer spelt way. Same on Discord. Website BMO.gg. So BMO is currently holding a contest for CIE participants. If you type !contest in chat and complete the form to meet with a BMO representative, you will be entered to win one of 5 $20 digital Steam gift cards. So if you've been looking to play a game and you're like, hey, work's been kind of slow, go hit up BMO. BMO representative. So BMO has bank accounts and borrowing options for university and college students. So it's time to enter today. BMO also has student banking options to help you focus on what's important. BMO has checking and savings accounts, credit cards, and borrowing options designed for students. Plus, you can get up to $125 cash and 6 months of Domino's pizza. Come on. With BMO's current student offers. So right now in chat, all these links are being put in, so feel free to check those out. And check out the BMO Next Level Discord as well. We also like to thank Strawberry and Egg, which you can find them on Instagram at strawberry and egg. On the Twitch command, which is strawberry and egg. They're a new local business located in Vancouver, BC, that specializes in making large video game and anime themed plushies. They also make smaller items like keychains, headphones, accessories, and flower bouquets. So if you have someone that you want to give them a little gift, birthdays coming up, celebrations coming up, it's an excellent gift. Everything is 100% handmade with quality as the top priority. So they also take custom orders, commissions. So make sure you can reach out to them and message them at their contacts. And if you say that CIE sent you, you can get 15% off on your order. So that's pretty great. And our last sponsor is Solaris. You can find them on Twitter at Solaris_GGs. That's spelled SOLARIS. They also have a Discord with, you can probably find that information in our chat with ! I believe it should be in there. Yes. So Solaris is an up-and-coming gaming organization focused on competitive Marvel Rivals. I know we heard some comments about Marvel Rivals today, so it's mainly focused on the competitive, like competing at the highest level. So while esports is at their core, Solaris is deeply rooted in the wider gaming and IRL community. So they have a variety of content from real-world events. They also aim to help support local organizations to help educate the non-endemic gaming audience about the value, influence, and impact of gaming, which, as we all talked about today, clearly it's a big one. So make sure to check them out. And besides that, that is, I think, everything for us today. So thank you to our
Where
sponsors.
can we
Thank
find
you.
you, Tina?
Well, you can find me everywhere at TinaEsTiny, not is S, because you gotta add a little bit of that Spanish flair to it, which is ES. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, but Discord as well. Twitter is where I hang out, though. But yeah, that is everything for today. I believe we have a lot of fun stuff coming up tonight. Tomorrow we have Valorant, which is going to be really exciting, semis, and then finals on Monday. So be sure to check out their schedule. And yeah, thank you again, everybody, for coming out today and participating. It was lovely getting to know you all. And thank you to our lovely viewers and listeners for sticking around. Yay!
Yay.